النهار بإذن الله
إن شاء الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم. اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Tadhkirat al-Muttaqin by late Ayatollah Muhammad Bahari Hamedani Ridwanullah Ta'ala alayh. We were studying different types of people who are deceived. They suffer ghurur. As I said, in Mahajjatul Bayda also we had a section on this topic, although they are not exactly the same, but it would be helpful to study both. In the last part of the last session, we talked about people that when they see that they have blessings, they have health, they have money, etc., then they think it's a sign of being loved by Allah, being chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over others, and then they would not bother about their mistakes, about their sins, etc. And then we talked about istidraj and imla. Now we continue with another group of people who are deceived. They suffer from ghurur, and these are people who are ahl haq, means people who have found out the truth. They want to commit themselves to the truth, but they are deceived. How? They have taken verses and hadith and sayings of Prophet and Imams and Ulama about forgiveness, about mercy of Allah, about hope, to the extreme. They think that whatever they do, they will be forgiven. Or some people think because, for example, they are sayyids, they are progeny of the Prophet, therefore they don't need to worry. They will be alright. They will be resurrected with Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, with their ancestors. He says, بعضی از مغرورین فسقه از اهل حقند. These are ahl haq. So they are people who believe in the truth. I mean, the general line in their life is okay. They are believers, they are monotheists, they have found the right religion. But fasaqe, they are sinful. They managed to get part of the truth, but they missed another part. Your actions, your behavior are very important. Sometimes they are deceived از جهت حلم الهی و عفو او و فضلش. Because Allah is very patient, Allah is very forgiving, Allah has great favor upon His servants. So they think they can keep repeating the same bad actions. أخرى means تارة أخرى, another time, and از جهت مدحی که در رجا وارد شده. Because they see that we have to be hopeful. Raja means hope. There is emphasis on having hope and you shouldn't be despaired. و بعضی از آنها به جهت نسبی که دارد, because of their نسب, because of their genealogy. مثل ذریه علویه سلام الله علیه, همین قدر که سید است مغرور به سیادت است. Because he or she is a progeny of the Prophet and Amir al-Mu'mineen and Lady Fatima, then is deceived by this. He says this person doesn't know, or if he knows is not paying attention, that hope without action doesn't work. Raja bi amal means hope without action. غلط محض است, is completely false. Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha says, لا تكن ممن يرجو الآخرة بغير العمل ويرجي التوبة بطول العمل. Don't be one of those people who have a hope for forgiveness, for tawbah, for akhirah, without action. لا تكن ممن يرجو الآخرة. Don't be one of those who have hope for akhirah بغير العمل, without action. ويرجي means delays tawbah because of طول العمل with hamza, because of long desires, unrealistic desires. So you should not have hope without action. اگر فقط رجا کافی بود, if raja alone was sufficient, why Ahlul Bayt themselves troubled themselves, made themselves so much tired physically with ibadah, charity work. They didn't sleep and enjoy their rest, etc. Day and night they were working, crying, lamenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why they didn't just have hope? تو به پیغمبر چه میمانی بگو, شیر را بچه همی ماند بدو. If you say I am a progeny of the Prophet, okay, tell me, how do you resemble the Prophet? A lion's child looks like his parents. How do you look like your father or mother? If you say I'm a progeny of Prophet, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Lady Fatima, Lady Khadija, etc. Then he mentions a very beautiful point. He says, when it comes to the words and sayings of the prophets and imams, there might be chance for interpretation, ta'wil. Sometimes you may interpret it in different ways. Sometimes, not always. But anyway, people may have different understanding. Although we follow methodology and we try to clarify, but sometimes maybe something can be interpreted different ways. But when it comes to their actions, there is no chance for ta'wil. Fafham waqtan. Understand and benefit from this point. When Rasulullah says do something, someone may say, okay, this was wajib or was mustahab or what, was the meaning. But when you see actions and practices of Rasulullah and imams, how can you interpret their actions in another way? How can you say we can live without taqwa, without righteousness, and still be saved? If your blood relation, your nasab is deceiving you, you must know nasab, blood relation as such, is not working. Quran says فَلَا أَنْصَابَ بَيْنَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَلَا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. On the day of judgment, blood relation is not going to save you. Yes, if someone is following the Prophet and has connection with the Prophet through blood as well, that's good. That may help. But this doesn't mean that just blood relation is going to help. Actually, those who have blood relation and don't practice, their situation can be worse than those who do not have blood relation. Al-Hassanu, as Imam Hassan alayhi salam said in a hadith to one of the Shia, that Al-Hassanu min kulla ahadin hasan wa minka ahsan limakanika minna wal-qabihu min kulla ahadin qabih wa minka aqbah limakanika minna. To do something good from everyone is good, but from you is better because of your relation with us. And to do something bad from anyone is bad, but from you is worse because of your relation with us. So if an alim who has imama of Rasulullah does something good, then it's great, because people count him as someone who has associated himself with Rasulullah. If a Sayyida does something good, it's very appreciated. But na'udhu billah, if someone has amama and does something against Rasulullah, if someone is Sayyid and does something against Rasulullah, it's not going to help, and indeed it will make their responsibility greater. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. No one can carry the burden of another person. He said, if you think because your father was a great person or your mother was a great lady, you will be saved, it's like someone who thinks that because my father has eaten food, then I don't need food. Do you accept this? So when you see your father and mother eating food, you say, okay, I don't need food. When you are thirsty, they drink water, you say, I don't need water. These are realities. Realities would not just be fixed based on association by names. It needs association of realities. If your father goes to a school and studies, can you say, I don't need to go to school? My father is studying on behalf of all of us. You have to study also, otherwise you remain ignorant. Taqwa wajib aynist. Taqwa is an obligation which is compulsory upon every person. It's not wajib kifai. So that you say, okay, if we have few people, they can take care of it, and the rest have no responsibility. We need all people to be muttaqi. Quran says, La yajzi walidun an waladih. No father, no parent would be able to suffice his children. يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ. People may run away from their own family members. Muttaqin, of course, are different. But if you just think that nasab is going to help, no. Shafa'a also has conditions. لا يشفعون إلا لمن ارتضى. Those who intercede might be pleasing Allah, and also they can intercede for the people that Allah is pleased with them. In discussions about Shafa'ah from Al-Mizan, in the series about discussions of Al-Mizan, we mentioned, of course, what does it mean Allah be pleased with those who receive Shafa'ah? It doesn't mean that Allah is pleased with all their actions, because then Shafa'ah is for what? It means that Allah is pleased with themselves as a whole, which means Allah is pleased with their aqidah, with their iman. Maybe they have missed some wajibat, but as a whole Allah is pleased with them. But if people keep sinning and sinning, then they may not be pleasing to Allah. They may even lose their iman. So over there we have explained. So basically Shafa'ah is not coming to everyone just because of relations which are based on blood, or we call ourselves they're Shia. For example, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, before his departure from this world, he asked all his family members to be there, and then he said, our Shafa'ah would not reach people who underestimate their salat. Another group of people who are deceived are some ulama. Sometimes they are deceived through knowledge, sometimes they are deceived through action. Ilm or amal. Ilm is knowledge, amal means action. Those who are deceived through knowledge, they are divided into different groups. For example, some people don't really have learned anything significant, anything beneficial, anything of substance. For example, they have learned something about how to argue. Maybe they have learned something about aqaid, but very basic, very superficial, something about, for example, fiqh, but not deep. They are not really strong. They are like someone who is suspended in the air and is just holding onto a thread. I don't know, but maybe Ayatollah Bahari Ahmadani was thinking about this hadith of Amirul Mu'mineen when he talks about three groups of people, and he says either are ulama rabbani or muta'allimun ala sabil al-najat, or hamajun ra'a, and he says that they are atba'u kull na'iq, and then he says lam yalja'u ila ruknin wathiq. They have not taken refuge with a firm pillar. You either must be yourself a firm pillar or be taking refuge with a firm pillar. These people, they have learned something. Maybe they have studied some books, they have studied some courses, maybe they have some degrees, certificates, but they are not alim. They have learned some Arabic, sarf, nahv, etc., or some fiqh, but they have not learned enough, and they must know that all these things are for benefiting in becoming a better person, improving your practice. You are just busy with the prerequisites, with the preparatory sciences. What about the real ma'arif, the real teachings that are light? There are some people that they have really gone deep in their studies and they have understood well, but they have neglected self-purification. Their knowledge is good. They have grasped good things, but no self-purification, no serious self-disciplining. Maybe they do just the wajibat, they avoid haram, but to be very much checking their intention and doing things for the sake of Allah, no. And when you don't do this, it's very dangerous. Don't think just avoiding haram and doing wajibat are enough. We can be deceived. Sometimes, for example, they suffer arrogance. They want to be above others. They want to be superior to others. And they say, this is because of respect for religion and ulama. Because I am alim, I should behave like this, and people should, behave towards me like this. Not knowing that their real intention is not this. Their real intention is they enjoy being superior to others and receive a special treatment. They see themselves superior to others. So you can be deceived. You think, for example, if someone is against you or is bad with you, maybe it's because that person is against religion or against all ulama, but maybe he has personal issue with you. Maybe you are wrong. Maybe you did some mistake. Or he shows off, but he thinks, no, I am doing this in order to teach people. So we have to be very careful. Then he says something in Arabic. Maybe he didn't want to say it in Farsi so that everyone can understand, I don't know. He says, some of these people then يخوض في أموال اليتامى والفقراء والمساكين ويصرفها في شهواته وفي من يختلف إليه من الأنصار والمريدين. Some of these scholars who have not purified themselves and their niyyah, they receive, of course, money. These money, for example, either belong to Imam or Sadat, or these are charity, whatever, kafarat, zakat. There are different types of money. Instead of making sure that they spend on really needy people, what they may do is they may spend on themselves if they, for example, can. For example, if it's a money for doing good things for religion, they may spend on themselves or their, office or people who are working with them or, going and coming to them. Those who are their murid, those who love them and are very devoted to them. And they think, oh, we are helping people, we are helping, talabe, poor people or students, etc. But why you are only spending on people who are associated with you? Why you yourself have, very kind of luxurious life, for example. Of course, we cannot judge about anyone. I'm worried that as soon as we hear something like this, then we look around and find who is like this. No, just we have to apply it to ourselves. Sometimes people have reasons that we don't know. Sometimes people have a special money. Even some Maraja, for example, sometimes they, like Ayatollah al-Uzma Milani, he was not spending even a cent or penny of, or riyal of wujuhat. He had very simple life, but even that simple life was gifted by some mu'mineen, especially for his life. And he was not using any public money, and even from that he was giving sadaqah. So we should not judge others, just be careful about ourselves. So this can be a ghurur. They think we are giving money to the poor people, or for example, this money should be spent in the hawza for students, depending, for example, Sahmi Imam should be normally it's used. Of course, Maraja should decide, but normally it's used for safeguarding religion, promoting religion, etc. But then sometimes they spend lots of it on their own talabe only, or their own institutions only, and they think they are doing good. Anyway, he says, Wallahul alimu bil-dhamair. Allah is aware of what is inside every person. Another group, inshallah, we can discuss next week, is some of Wa'ad, some of the preachers. And we will see what type of deceptions can exist there. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to awaken us, to be able to see different traps that shaitan has prepared for us and save ourselves from being trapped by them. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
اللهم صل على محمد